And to discuss the implications of the latest developments, I'm joined by Labor Party strategist and Kevin Rudd supporter, Bruce Hawker. Bruce Hawker, it's been a long day for you, it looks like. Did Kevin Rudd call you before he made this press conference?
We did have a conversation. It was an escalating day, I think. It was pretty clear in the course of the day that people were going around the gallery making more and more sort of claims against Kevin. And they were saying they were going to bring it on and this sort of thing. And then the Prime Minister's office was saying they weren't. But over the last few days, it has been growing in intensity, ever since he's been overseas, actually.
Was he pushed over the edge by the claims that were made by Michael Danby that he had been directly briefing journalists?
I'm not sure that he even heard of Michael Danby's claims, I'm sorry to say.
His office must not be very good. Because that,
well, I'm not saying that
he.
I'm not saying if he did or he didn't, but I think there's been a series of events like that in recent days, carefully orchestrated by people inside the government to, make life difficult for Kevin, really to try to push him. And I think he formed the view in the end that in the absence of any strong endorsement from the Prime Minister, particularly in the face of attacks from Simon Crean, that the appropriate thing to do was to resign and then come back to Australia, consult with his colleagues and then determine what he's going to do next.
And he will do what?
Well, I don't know for sure. That's why he's got to consult with his colleagues.
What's your feeling?
Well, I think he's more likely than not going to challenge, because I think he's very concerned that if he's not the leader of the Australian Labor Party and the government, then Tony Abbott is going to be the next Prime Minister of Australia.
If he's not the leader of the Australian Labor Party, is he prepared to completely destroy it to get his own way? Because that seems to be the outcome of all of this, Bruce Hawker.
Well, I don't understand what you mean by that, but
because
he certainly
what he's done
isn't going to be resigning his seat. If you're saying is he going to resign his seat, absolutely not. He's not going to be one of those people that walk away from the government and say, we're going to leave you to your own devices. He fought hard during the period between when the election was held and when the government was formed to get people like Katter over the line. And he showed great support for Julia Gillard in that period. No one should ever suggest anything to the contrary.
How long have you been helping?
And he's been a very good foreign minister since then too.
How long have you been helping Kevin Rudd organise this campaign against the Prime Minister?
Well, I don't think there has been a campaign against the Prime Minister.
Surely now we can put aside the facade now, can't we, Bruce Hawker? We know that this has been going on for months. We know that there's been briefings going on. We can continue to play the games, but there's been a campaign.
Well, I think there has been a campaign to destabilise Kevin Rudd, and if he's responded occasionally to some of those claims whilst not trying to go out and have a public fight with the government or members of the government, then I think he's done the right thing. But I think we will probably see this thing come to a head in the coming days. And as I said, the main question for backbenchers is going to be this: who is best equipped to lead the Labor government to a victory over the real enemy, Tony Abbott? And the answer to that has got to be Kevin Rudd.
And that's a slogan. That's something that you clearly worked on with Kevin Rudd today, wasn't it?
No, I think that's pretty self-evident, really, Chris. The real opponent for the government is Tony Abbott. And Kevin Rudd is a very popular politician. Everyone knows that. He's the most popular politician in the Labor government by a long shot. And he's somebody who's put his shoulder to the wheel constantly on behalf of the government as Foreign Minister and as Prime Minister. He's got runs on the board. I think the Australian public thinks he was done a very bad deal in the way in which he was removed. And now there could be an opportunity to redress some of that. But more importantly, for backbenchers, there's an opportunity for them to ask themselves, who's best equipped to look after my interests as the representative of ex-electorate? And it's got to be Kevin Rudd.
And given all that we have seen, you say he's the most popular person in the Labor Party. That's like saying he's the most popular person in a leper colony at the moment, isn't it?
I think he's a very popular politician, full stop. He's much more popular than Tony Abbott. The published polls will tell you that, as you know full well. I think he's probably the most popular politician in the country at the moment. It's him and Turnbull. Interestingly, neither of them leaders of their respective parties.
He said today that Tony Abbott didn't have the temperament to be Prime Minister of Australia. Given that his caucus last time decided that he didn't have the temperament, that's Kevin Rudd, what on earth makes us think that he would have it this time around? In what way would he have changed?
Well, I think he's had the opportunity to reflect on his period as Prime Minister. He talked about that in an interview with David Spears on Sky the other night. there are good examples of Prime Ministers who have had a period and then lost, gone into the wilderness and come back. Our longest-serving Prime Minister, Robert Menzies, was in that category. John Howard was a two-time opposition leader and then went on to be the second longest-serving Prime Minister in the country. It's almost like it's good to have that apprenticeship.
What are people to make of the Labor Party now, Bruce Hawker, if we see Kevin Rudd win against the Prime Minister, maybe not this time, but the next time he challenges, and he stands in the smoking ruin of the Labor Party? What are people to make of that kind of contest?
Well, I don't think that we are looking at the smoking ruin of the Labor Party, Chris. I don't think we're anywhere near that. I think in the coming months, whoever leads the party is going to be able to take real paint off Tony Abbott with his economic record, with his ideas firmly placed in the past. He is a man ready to be seriously taken down, and I think Kevin Rudd is the person to do it.
If Kevin Rudd loses the ballot on Monday or Tuesday, will that be the end of it?
I don't know. You'd have to speak to him about that. We don't even know whether he's going to contest yet. I think we should do this exercise first, see what happens, and then we can have another round of speculation and discussion. Sure,
it's not speculation though. Have you discussed with him the possibility of a two-step strategy that he might lose this time and win the next time around?
I'm only focused on this contest.
So you have discussed it with him?
If he determines to have this contest, I think he should win it and win it well now.
Have you discussed that with him?
Well, I've discussed a lot of things with him, but I'm not going to go into detail with you about that now. No, I'm not going to go into discussions with you about that now, Chris, but what I will say...
Take that as a yes?
...is that I think what I will say is that the Australian Labor Party caucus doesn't want to see this thing happening over and over again. They want to see this thing resolved, and I think the way you do that is to give Kevin Rudd a victory if he decides to go for it at the first attempt.
A first attempt, so there may be a second one?
Well, I can't say whether there will or there won't. I've answered the question as best as I can. I don't even know whether he's going to contest this one. He's got to talk to his colleagues about that.
But you do know whether or not you've had a conversation with him about whether there might be a two-step strategy?
Look, I've had plenty of conversations about a lot of things with him, and I'm not going to go into detail about all that now.
Truth and plain speaking were the two things that Kevin Rudd said that needed to happen from now on. Do you think that we are hearing truth and plain speaking from Kevin Rudd?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's somebody who understands that he's got to connect, directly with the Australian public, and I think he's very well equipped to do that. That's my view of it.
And what effect will this all have on the Queensland election?
Well, the fact that it's being resolved, I think, is a good thing. Anna Bligh didn't need this thing to go on and on and on. And if it did go on and on and on, I think that would be a further impediment to her prospects in Queensland.
Bruce Hawker, thank you.